Hi, everyone. Welcome to In Our Experience, a podcast where we talk about self-improvement within the context of friendship. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Nirel.
And welcome.
Today we're here in person, obviously. I drove back to Palo Alto. So Amanda and I were actually able to hang out in the flesh. Woo! A treat for us and you.
Indeed. And today we're talking about personality types and how we can change our personalities, if we can change our personalities, why we were so obsessed with personality tests in college, etc. So, why did we used to be so obsessed with personality tests, such as the 16 personality test, or Myers-Briggs, I guess? And do we still think there is some validity to them?
I was obsessed with personality tests in undergrad because I had just I feel like maybe in middle school or high school, I had like a low-key an identity crisis. Like I just felt like I didn't really know who I was. I was like thinking a lot about the things that I had grown up thinking, like religion and stuff like that. And I was trying to figure out who I was. And so I just took a bunch of different ones and saw the patterns in them. And I'm generally curious about literally everything. I've realized that recently.
That's
I'm always
good.
like, ooh, interesting. And then it's everything. Like yesterday, I got really interested in military planes. And then today, I was getting really interested in TikTok algorithms.
Can't say I've ever researched either.
Well, it's because like my friends were sending them to me. Yeah,
Okay. I feel like, were you the one who introduced me to
probably. I was
personality?
literally obsessed with them.
I did take AP psychology in high school, which I really enjoyed. And we took a personality test, although I remember I tested differently in college than I did at the end of high school, just by one letter. And then I
You
tested,
always flopped back and forth, kind of.
yeah, but then I tested differently a third time. And then since then, I've been consistent.
Oh, in college, you tested like differently.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because remember, at first I was like an ISFJ, and then I became an INFJ. And ever since then, I've been an INFJ.
Do you remember what you did in high school?
I was an INTJ.
Interesting. So, do you think your personality has changed?
Um, I think I just know myself better, probably. Because, like, I feel like one flaw of personality tests is you actually have to, like, know yourself in order to answer the questions correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you don't know how you respond to different people and situations, then you're not going to be able to answer the questions accurately.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Should we explain what the tests are?
sure.
I don't know if everyone's taken them. I guess they're pretty popular now.
Yeah.
But in college, I was really into the Myers-Briggs personality type test and what's the other one called? Enneagram test. And then I got really into the love languages probably halfway through college too, which I consider a personality test as well.
Kind of.
And then I also think astrology is basically a personality test. But like with less scientific backing, obviously. But the Myers-Briggs personality test, basically you take like you have a bunch of different questions and you have a range of like agree or like super agree to super disagree or something like that.
Yeah.
And then
Strongly agree.
yeah, and the questions are about your life basically. Like how you interact with the world and how you like experience the world internally and blah blah blah. And yeah, it's all self-reported. So it's basically like your perception of your life or like how you interact. But I find that they're usually pretty accurate. I don't know, at least for me. Well, I guess it depends on how much you know yourself. And then at the end you come out with like a different set of letters, the collections of letters. So you could be introverted or extroverted, and within that there's a scale. So you can be like 97% extroverted or like 52% extroverted. So, do you want to explain what yours meant?
Actually, I'm dumb. I actually wrote an entire paper about personality types in high school, so that's how I was introduced to it. And I took a personality test in the process of writing that paper.
Oh,
But I became really into the personality test when I met you, I think.
Okay.
Because then we
I was
started,
super into them. So.
yeah, then we started asking everyone to take the test
Mm-hmm.
and like obsessing over people's personality types and like trying to dissect why we got along with certain people and why we didn't get along with other people. But
Do you remember anyone's?
well, remember my ex?
Mm-hmm.
He took the test and then we were like, "Oh my God, that's why it's not working." We're fundamentally incompatible.
Hey, sometimes you are.
That's true. But yeah, so the first letter is introverted or extroverted. The second letter is intuitive or sensing. So that's like, do you pay more attention to your concrete world, I think, and like what's actually happening around you versus like thinking about possibilities and the future and what could happen and what should be. Um, and then the third letter is thinking versus feeling. Like, do you make decisions using, it's not really logic or emotion, but like, because I think you can be a feeling person and still be logical. But I guess like how much does emotion guide you in your decision making versus like,
Yeah, and I think what are you willing to sacrifice? Like that's not
yeah.
the way that they put it, but I feel like for logical feeling people, you are still using logic, but you're not just going to throw your feelings out because it's the logical thing to do. And then I feel like on the flip side,
Yeah, like one of the questions is like, do you care more about being kind or like telling the truth? I mean, I don't know. I've scored pretty, I'm pretty much always introverted when I take the tests, but I'm not like super introverted. I'm only like 50 something percent.
I'm super extroverted.
I see. Fair. And then honestly, okay, I'm always judging too. So the last letter is perceiving versus judging, and that has to do with like how much structure you need in your life and like how organized you are. Perceiving, I think, is more like those people are more flexible and adaptable and spontaneous, and they just get like sudden bursts of energy and they do things whenever they feel like it. And
They're like type B,
yeah, yeah.
organized chaos.
And then judging is like you like structure and planning and order and that sort of thing. So I'm always judging. I'm always introverted, but not super introverted. And I flip flopped on this. I flip flopped once on the sensing versus intuitive, but I'm like 100% positive that I'm intuitive. Like I don't really care about the real world. Honestly, like I wouldn't say I spend a lot of time thinking about like my practical reality if I don't have to be. I don't know. And then I usually score pretty closely on like thinking versus feeling, but most of the time I come out feeling. I mean, now I always do. But I guess at one point I was more thinking in high school, which makes sense because I feel like I was kind of more inhibited then and like less open, like less willing to share my emotions. Maybe that's what changed.
I mean, I feel like you have kind of changed a lot, but I think the things with the personality types is that they're more like fundamentals of who you are. Whereas like you definitely have become more social over time and more like just uninhibited in general. But I feel like being more what's the opposite of uninhibited?
Reserved?
Inhibited?
Yeah.
being being more reserved isn't like necessarily it wasn't necessarily like integrated into your personality as part of why your personality wasn't showing as much.
I think it's just how it played into how I saw myself, though. Like how I presented
Hmm.
played into how I thought I genuinely was. Because, like, I don't know, I had this whole thing with being shy. Like, it was like a core part of my childhood and contributed to a lot of the trauma I've had.
I mean, you still are shy.
Yeah.
I think you can be shy and social.
Yeah, but I just mean, like, I don't know. I feel like I got a lot of negative feedback from my personality when I was younger.
Hmm.
And I think that to an extent that shaped the way that I saw myself for a while.
Mm.
Because people would just assume things about me like, oh, you're quiet, so you don't have emotion. So I was like, I guess I don't have emotion. I don't know. You know?
I don't know because I'm not quite, but yeah.
Yeah. Norel actually thinks I'm loud and rude.
Yeah. Well, extremely talkative for sure.
That, yeah, I was going to talk about that. That's a big misconception about me is that I'm not talkative because I actually just ramble on all the time.
Agreed. It's a big, I'm just kidding. It's a big misconception for a lot of quiet people. I was talking with my mom earlier about how I really like distinctions between the words and when people are able to describe themselves more accurately. Like I feel like there's a difference between like empathy and compassion. Like someone can be an empathetic person but super selfish or like not particularly compassionate. Just because you can feel what other people can feel doesn't mean you're going to make decisions with their best interest at heart. Like it just means that you could feel it, but you could still be a selfish person. Or like I think there
Yeah.
are distinctions between having a big personality and a strong personality. And a strong personality can be like understated. Like you have a strong personality, but I
Hmm.
wouldn't say you have a big personality, which is more like I associate with being more like gregarious, that sort of thing. And I feel like when people are able to make a few more distinctions, like you can be introverted and talkative and social, then that's like helpful with not only like being able to express who you are, but also being able to understand who you are, like you were saying, because people had coupled together like being reserved, being unemotional, being shy, being quiet, and like all these things together,
Hmm.
and so you think you're like a part of that bundle, but in reality, well, you guys will meet her eventually. My sister, she's shy and she also never shuts up. So,
Not around me, but yeah,
well, because she's shy.
exactly.
Yeah, but she's like super talkative and yeah, never shuts up.
Some people actually are just quiet though.
My dad is.
Yeah, like they just don't say much.
Hmm.
Can't relate though. I have a lot of thoughts.
I like to say that I've been fluent in Japanese since day one because I'm literally always yapping.
Yeah, but funny enough, or funnily enough, or whatever you say, I feel like you used to get annoyed at how much I talked sometimes.
Because you never shut
Which would be interesting for some people to know. That's all I have to say.
It's a common, well, I mean, I feel like, and we've talked about this a little bit before, but I think that there are just so many differentiations between the way that a person presents and who they actually are. And it can take a while to like peel back those layers. And I think that like again, because you were more reserved, people associated with you with being more traditional. But I think I'm more traditional than you are in a lot of ways.
That's true. Yeah. Hmm.
Anyway, should I explain my personality type?
Yes.
So I was and still am an ENFP. I've never changed in that. Actually, two people recently told me that I have a strong sense of self, and I really appreciated that. But I feel like my sense of self has been pretty like stable throughout time, especially in those core concepts. But I've changed other things, obviously. Like my politics have changed a lot. Um, but I am an ENFP, which, as Amanda mentioned, is extroverted. I'm very extroverted and social. People usually, I don't know. I feel like extroversion can be a bit of a drag sometimes because I don't really like that many people, but I still have to be around people for energy. So sometimes I'm just out on the town, like prowling around for human interaction, even though I don't want to associate with any of the humans. It's like when people go and sit at a bar and like just chat, but it's not because they're like gonna pick up someone or be friends with someone. They're just like drained by sitting around in the house. Like I feel like if I sit around too long alone, I get quite melancholy. It's not like a super relaxing time, unless I'm like sick or just want to be left alone. But that's more rare. And then I'm also intuitive, feeling, and I have the like perceiving. So we're pretty similar in some ways.
Yeah. I mean, I think we're complementary too.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, like, we have two of our letters are the same and then two are different.
Yeah, I think that's supposed to be the most complementary match when you have that.
Depends. But yeah.
Well, yeah, because there are so many other things at play. And then the Enneagram personality type I really like. I like it the best because, or not the best, but I like it a lot because it has like a scale of how you act when you're at your healthiest versus your least healthiest. And it's like a different, there are like 8 of them or whatever, and the scales that show. And it's like when you're functioning at your healthiest and your best, like you act this way. And so it's something to like aspire to. And it's also something to check yourself on. Like if you're functioning in a way that's super low, maybe you're depressed or like maybe you're just being a dick, you know? So I like that one a lot too.
Don't you get like a secondary type
Yeah,
as well? I think I was a type 1, and my secondary type was like 2 or something.
I'm a 2.
I thought you were a 4.
I was, but I'm not.
I don't even remember what the types are.
Mine's the helper. Like that's my fundamental type, and it's like fundamentally you just like want to be loved. And then the 4 is the individualist, and it's like fundamentally you just want to have like identity and purpose. And so I think that I can see how both fit. And usually when a 2 is like operating at a more healthy stage, they like kind of act similarly to a 4 because they're like serving the world, but it's part of their purpose and identity, less so a part of like them people pleasing or trying to like basically being a martyr.
Hmm.
Um, which I definitely can and have acted that way in the past. So I think that I can see why both like might fit, but I definitely think I'm more of a 2. And then there's also an
Wait, what's a 1? It's like,
should we look it up?
I think it's like, you can look it up if you
I'll
want.
look it up.
I think it's like being focused on like self-improvement.
Well.
Interesting.
Interesting.
Let's see.
Yeah.
Something like that.
You don't know.
Momentary pause. Well, the Enneagram
Mm.
Institute says it's the rational, idealistic type, principled, purposeful, self-controlled, and perfectionistic.
That sounds like you, honestly.
1s are conscientious and ethical, with a strong sense of right and wrong. They are teachers, crusaders, and advocates for change, always striving to improve things, but afraid of making a mistake. Oh. Yeah. Well organized, orderly, and fastidious. They try to maintain high standards, but can slip into being critical and perfectionistic. They typically have problems with resentment and impatience.
You are impatient.
I am.
I don't see you as being particularly resentful, though.
Mm.
You're like, no! I can think of a few characters.
At their best, wise, discerning, realistic, and noble, can be morally heroic. Okay.
That's lovely.
Wow. Yeah, I feel like this makes sense.
Another one that I really like. Do you like the love languages one or no?
I like it, but I feel like all the love languages are important. So
I agree. And then another one that I like is it's like archetypes, woman archetypes or something like that. And it's about what makes you the most seductive. And I like it not only in like a dating sense, but also in a like career sense. Like it's just like what people are drawn to about you. And so I feel it's useful to play up in certain scenarios, or like if you feel like you need to tamper down something, you can remember that, oh, actually this is what people like about me. Like being really independent, for example. I feel like it's sometimes looked down upon within the context of romantic relationships, but there are plenty of people that like it. And so remembering that I think can be useful when you're like, ooh, should I change this thing about my personality?
Or you could just survey all your friends.
Which I did in undergrad, I feel. I was always asking people
True.
how they felt about how they felt about me and then how they saw me. Which I also feel like is part of the reason why I understand how people perceive me pretty well. Some people really don't get that. You know?
They don't understand you when you ask them?
No, they don't understand how people perceive them.
Oh.
It's like, girl, I fear you don't know how you're coming off with other people because that's crazy.
That's because they don't have self-awareness, I think.
Agreed. Yeah. And some people don't want to. They're like, I don't care what people think of me. So like, why would I ask around?
Everyone cares what people think of them, actually.
And your self-concept is not developed in a vacuum. Like, that's super bizarre. It's an interaction between how the world sees you and how you see yourself. If you just see yourself in a particular way and everyone else sees yourself differently, you're just delusional.
Yeah.
That's it.
Like, there's no way that everyone is mistaken.
Exactly.
I just don't. Like, obviously, some people can just misunderstand you and they don't have enough facts to really know the situation or to know what you've been through or to know why you're reacting the way that you are. But other times, you just, you know, want to see yourself in a certain light, so you will. Like how people love to pretend they're the victim and they're not.
What do you mean?
Like some people are just like, they feel like they're the victim in every situation. And it's like, you can't always be the victim.
The common denominator is.
Like sometimes,
Or even for a long time by the same person. Like, you can be in one relationship for a long time and have been the victim in a bunch of different scenarios with them. But if we're really, if we're rolling up on 10 people, and you're still,
I mean, at least you have to take responsibility for the fact that like you're choosing these people,
or staying with them or whatever.
Like you're not completely innocent, but
yeah.
Anyway, how do you feel like people have misunderstood your personality?
I feel like people usually think I'm like cold or rude or mean or unenthusiastic, unhappy to be at a particular location. And it's just not the case. And even when I try to communicate, like, I know my face doesn't indicate this, but I am actually happy to be here. People still don't, they're like, they still don't believe me. I have one really good friend from undergrad, and I was her freshman orientation leader. And she told me that. Because I literally expressed, guys, I know it doesn't look like I'm happy to be here, but I am. And she was like, I was still afraid of you. So,
Oh,
yeah.
I was kind of afraid of you, actually. But just at first.
The same old bit. So,
I feel like that's something we connected over, though, because everyone always thought that I was apathetic as well, or that I was miserable. Like in high school, I was in this calculus class, and it was like regular math, for like the dumb people. No, not for the dumb people, but
for the regular people.
That's how I was, that's how we were treated for being in that class in good old Silicon Valley. But the issue was that class was way too easy, but the honors math class was too hard. But that's another conversation. So point being, I was bored in that class and I had no friends in that class. So I was just really quiet and probably looked extremely bored. I also don't like math. But one time my teacher like pulled me aside and he was like, I just wanted to know, like, are you okay? Like, are you depressed? I was like, I just don't like math.
I don't want to be here.
But also, this is just my face.
I say that all the time. This is literally just my face.
Yeah. Like, that's my resting face. I don't show very much emotion. People think I'm like monotone.
Same.
People think.
Which I am.
I hate them. People think I'm stuck up a lot of the time, I think. Like, that I think that I'm too good for them. And I'm like, that probably couldn't be further from the truth, but all right.
I mean, it's been an issue for me. It's kind of been a big issue for me. Like, it has even been an issue in interviews and stuff. So I feel like it kind of is, it can be a big deal when people misperceive your personality, especially in a negative light.
Yeah. Yeah. People have thought that I'm passive too, which is really irritating because I feel like I'm not passive at all. Like, I feel like I'm pretty independent and I'm not just gonna do something because everyone is telling me to do it.
You're also stubborn.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's kind of the opposite of passive.
Yeah, but I also have like convictions and like things that I care about and like a moral compass and like I go after what I want. Like I'm not just like going with the flow
of life. Yeah.
Like I don't know, it's just not who I am. People have thought that I'm not confident. And like, obviously at times I've been less confident. But I feel like generally I'm not like an unconfident person. Like I feel like I also have a pretty strong sense of self.
Yeah.
And like one time in high school, actually, I was friends with this girl and she was like, you remind me of that quiet, she was Asian, so she could say this, but she was like, you remind me of that quiet Asian in Pitch Perfect.
The one that didn't say anything. Like that literally whisper?
The one that is known for saying, I ate my twin in the womb. Yeah. I was like,
gave off a good energy.
I was like, you mean the weird one? She was like, yeah, her. Then we ended up becoming really good friends, actually. And she told me that I taught her that quiet people can be confident too.
Oh, how kind.
Actually, we ended up getting in a fight because she told me that I was a follower. But she apologized, like, years later.
Mm-hmm.
But at the time, I was like, well, if that's how you see me, then I guess there's no reason to be friends, because, like, she was like, I'm a leader like these cool people, and you're a follower like these weird people. And I was like, okay.
That's pretty rude, honestly.
Yeah. Red flag from day one.
Yeah.
With the comparison to that Pitch Perfect character.
I recently was told that I was rude and needed to change my face and my tone and what I said on a date.
Oh. Maybe you just didn't like them.
It wasn't that really. It was just like, I'm a guarded person. Like you said this before. This was just the second date and we had only like known each other for 3 hours. We didn't even talk in between the dates. But it was honestly pretty hurtful.
Yeah, I feel like that's so unnecessary. People are so rude when they just like don't get you. Like people have, oh my God, countless people have asked me why I'm so quiet. Why are you so quiet? Why are you so quiet? This girl on my soccer team in 5th grade would actually ask me to speak. Like she'd be like,
can you speak?
She'd be like, say something, say something. I'd be like, hi. She'd be like, oh my God, she talked.
That's really annoying.
This was in like 5th grade.
It's annoying.
And then another girl on my team, or honestly, probably multiple people, would treat me like I was like in kindergarten, like I was like a little baby that just like didn't have the mental capacity to understand how to socialize or like speak generally. And she would just be like, how was school today? Did you have a good day?
I thought you were slow, bro.
Stupid.
Like, what?
I was like, good. Like, what do you even say to that?
I think that people just feel uncomfortable when they can't get a read on you and they start feeling insecure. And so they want you to like be conversational because then they know how you, or then they perceive you as being interested. Whereas if you're not saying anything or you refuse to answer a certain question, like on the date, the guy was like, what's your biggest insecurity? And I was like, I don't really know you that well. Like, I don't feel comfortable answering that question. And I was like, what's your biggest insecurity? And then he answered and I was like, oh, okay. And then we like continued on with the conversation. But he mentioned that later as being like a thing where he was like, you're always saying I don't know you that well. And I'm like, we've known each other for 3 hours.
You don't know me
that well.
You're always saying like this one day.
Yeah, no, I'm serious. Exactly. And so I'm just like, I don't know. I've been thinking about this a little bit because we used to like really not like having superficial conversations and like we're very into asking deep questions.
Me and you?
Yeah. Into asking deep questions. But I feel like now, especially like having had more negative experiences with people, that I feel like either take advantage of like information that you tell them that's more personal or private or that they shouldn't necessarily know. So early in a relationship, it's more important to me to like have intimacy in terms of like intimate like conversation topics, not meaning like intimacy like sex, but just what you're willing to like reveal to someone be something that's more of a process over time. Whereas I feel like at the beginning in undergrad, I really like kind of rushed that process because I feel like that creates this sort of like false closeness that makes you feel more certain in the relationship. Like, I know all these things about them. Like, we're really close friends. And it's like, you just don't know them that well, like well enough to be really close friends. And I think in college, it's obviously like a container. You're around each other all the time. So like you can get to know someone really quickly or way quicker than you would like as an adult. But I do kind of feel that's how I felt on the date. It's like you're trying to rush either you're trying to rush intimacy because you feel uncomfortable like not knowing if I like or don't like you, or you looked up like 21 questions to get to know someone and are now spouting them. Because I'm like, this is ridiculous. Another thing he asked me is what my favorite word was, which I'm happy to like answer. But it was just all these, I felt like I was being interviewed. Like it felt like
What's
I
your
was at,
favorite word? Why would you ask someone that?
I don't know. And then after every response, he'd be like, okay. Like I said that I didn't have a favorite word. I like a lot of different words. I like the particularity of language, like I was saying earlier, like the distinctions. And that a word that really sticks out to me is the word bucolic because it's the first word that I knew that my dad didn't know. My dad's like really into words. Like he used to have us like open the dictionary and point to any word and then he would like rattle off the definition when we were growing up.
Oh my God.
So like it was a big deal to me. And when I said that, he was like, so you're competitive. And I'm just like, not really. Like, I'm not even really that competitive. And so it just felt, I don't know, it felt like an inquisition. So it made me like reflect on how much I used to say, like, oh, I don't like superficial conversation. Like, I want to get deep right away. But it was so uncomfortable in that context.
Some people also like love balm you so that you feel safe. Like you do feel that false sense of intimacy, so then they can take advantage of you.
Exactly. And I was just like, this is,
So,
and at the end, he said to me, like, you may be a guarded person, but I don't want to earn warmth or kindness. And so I don't think we're like compatible romantically. And in my head, I'm thinking like,
you just want it like handed to you on a silver platter?
well, it's just like trust is built.
Yeah.
Like I learned so much more about your ability to handle like vulnerable conversation through your actions than I would have being like, so like, should I trust you? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like, what are we talking about here? This has to develop over time. And granted, I wouldn't necessarily call myself a warm person, but I am kind, like quite kind.
But also anyone can answer a question in any way they want. Like you have to actually see how they respond to different situations in the moment.
Right. And it's like, how would you know that I'm kind? Or how would you know that, like, how would you know that I'm not? You haven't seen me in various contexts. You've known me for 2 hours.
Also, one date?
It was the second date.
2 dates?
No, 100%. And I don't want, I like earn kind of, and I was like, I literally, like before I got here, I stopped and talked to a homeless man for like 30 minutes because he clearly wanted someone to talk to. Like I'm a kind person, but you wouldn't know that. You've never seen me in any other context.
But also you do have to earn intimacy and like someone's respect and trust.
Yeah, but I don't think you necessarily have to earn kindness per se.
But I feel like by interrogating you, he was making you feel uncomfortable. So why would you be thrilled, you know?
Yeah.
Especially if he was responding like, interesting. Like,
yeah,
he was
exactly.
He was the one who was acting like you had to earn something. So, projecting?
No, it was a very uncomfortable interaction, and I'm, you know, not necessarily one to try to go out of my way to make fun of a guy, but it was a very uncomfortable interaction, but I mention it because it was like kind of hurtful and it was like mean. Like I felt like I was bullied for my personality. And so
it's really damaging to feel like you're just fundamentally unlikable.
Yeah, like who you are as a person.
Which
at
is
your core.
honestly how I felt for a large portion of my childhood because of how shy and quiet I was. And I feel like even now, or not now, but like in the recent past, like people have just assumed that I would be their like little sidekick or I would be their little minion.
Rookie mistake.
And then when I like assert my independence or when I like express my opinion or when I say, no, I'm not going along with that or no, I don't agree with that, then they're like, what? I thought you were like this quiet, agreeable person and I could just tell you what to do and you do it. What? It's like, I am agreeable, but like there reaches a point where I'm not just gonna like keep going along with this.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I feel like I'm generally pretty open to new experiences and like willing to try different things. And so it kind of might seem like I'm a pushover or like I will just go along with what someone else wants to do, especially because I'm quiet and reserved at first. But then they don't realize that actually I have my own opinions and I'm not just gonna do what I'm told. with no thought as to how that will affect me or others. So,
I think I'm pretty easygoing too.
yeah, people can take advantage of that.
Yep, and have. I'm trying to think of like if there was anything growing up that people would say a lot about my personality that I absolutely hated. I mean, I hated that people kept asking me why I didn't seem happy to be in whatever location I was in. It's really quite frustrating.
Yeah.
If you recall, our track coach, one of them was always asking me, "Why are you happy to be here?" And I was like, "I'm literally fine. It's just my face." Also, I was depressed though, but I was like,
So it
"I'm
wasn't
fine."
just her face.
Yeah, it was no, both and like I was like fine.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like our coaches judged me too on the track team, but that was like so much better than my experiences on soccer teams. Like I was like definitely bullied
By your coaches.
by my coaches and my teammates on soccer teams. Like I had a coach that was like, Amanda needs to call for the ball, and like the reason that we're losing is because Amanda is not talking enough. I mean, she didn't say that outright, but like that's how she was acting. Is
My
that
sister got benched once for it. My
yeah,
youngest sister.
I got benched,
Yeah.
and she started saying, if Amanda doesn't call for the ball, you can't pass it to her. You have to call for the ball. Blah blah blah.
Well, you are supposed to call for the ball.
I know, but she turned it into such a
whole
thing,
yeah.
and like made me feel like I was such an idiot and like I was such an unlikable person that I just got really stubborn and refused to do what she said.
Again, rookie mistake.
Because I was also like, why are you going about this in this way? And she would like yell at me, and then other people on my team started screaming at me,
Oh,
even if
God.
like me not talking had no effect on what was going on the field, because my coach acted like it was my fault when like the other team scored because I wasn't talking. Then they started thinking it was my fault, and they would just
Yeah.
scream at me all the time for like no reason. And I also had no friends on that team. So it's like I didn't feel comfortable around those people because I didn't really think any of them liked me.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually don't really think any of them liked me that much. But they also didn't know me because I was so quiet. Um, and so yeah, that just like made it even more difficult for me to talk on the field because I didn't feel comfortable around anyone.
Is that why you were interested in personality
Yeah.
stuff in high school?
Yeah, because like I ended up quitting soccer because it was so toxic for me, and I just lost a lot of self-confidence. Like I actually started to become kind of apathetic
Mm-hmm.
because I was just like, what am I getting out of this? I'm just being abused all the time and like pressured into being someone. I felt like I was being pressured into being someone that I wasn't. Like I felt like there was this like mold of an ideal soccer player in like my coach's mind, because she was extremely different from me personality wise. She was like very abrasive and loud, and like she would direct people and tell them what to do. I was more like collaborative, and um like I would like talk to people between plays, but I wouldn't like yell a lot on the field, and I wouldn't tell people like do this, do that. And I would use my speed and like other strengths to make sure no one scored because I was a defender. Like I was strategic in the way that I played. And I was like one of the best players on the team, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
But I just wasn't loud. And like, yes, I should have communicated more, and I probably should have been louder, but I felt like she was approaching it in this way of like, there's something wrong with you. You need to change, instead of like, you're doing great at all of these things, but like you could improve in this way. How can we work on it in a way that would make you feel comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
And so I got really stubborn. I was like, fuck you. I'm not doing what you want. Anyway, I ended up quitting. I did track instead, and I had such a positive experience on the track team. And my coach was also very different from me. He was very extroverted, very friendly, very like outgoing, but he would just like tease me and try to get me to come out of my shell in a way that made me feel like he actually liked me.
Mm-hmm.
And like track had that component of it being an individual sport in addition to a team sport. So I didn't feel like I had to be like everyone else. I felt like I could be my own individual, and I could like do my own thing, but I also had the community of the rest of the track team, and I had that camaraderie that I liked about being part of a team. So,
Yeah, I didn't think about that, but I do feel like the structure of track lends itself to that because there's a bit more of a recognition of the fact that you can have individual strengths even within the same event. They're like people that sort of like they're really powerful and they
mhm.
sort of like move quickly down the track and then but based on like power alone. And then there are people that are like fast twitch and basically they just look like the road runner and their legs are going like super quickly, but they're not like super powerful with each step. But it's like even within the same event, there's recognition of like variety and strengths in different ways. So I guess I didn't think of it as lending itself to like a variety of personality types, but I feel like it kind of does.
And there's so many events that you can do on a
Yeah.
track team. Like, and they're completely different from each other. So there are just so many different types of people, so many different body types
Mm-hmm.
on one team. And I thought that was really cool. Also, it's completely objective. So
Yes.
there are no politics. It's not like, well, I have a daughter on the team and I want her to play more than you, so I'm going to make up a reason that you aren't going to be playing as much so that I can play my daughter, which also happened to me. It's like, if you run this time and you jump this far, then you're good.
Yeah, my aunt was just talking about that. My aunt who was on the same track team as her dad. And she was talking about how she just assumed that there would be like too much favoritism within the other sports and that she wouldn't like get selected even if she tried out. So she didn't go to tryouts except for track
Mm.
because it was like objective.
That was definitely a big reason that I started thinking more about personality type because I was just like, by the end of my soccer career, I genuinely felt like there might be something wrong with me. I was like, why
Yeah.
can't, why am I so shy? Like, why can't I just talk when people tell me to talk? Like, why am I so different from everyone else? Why am I the only person who has this problem? And then I was just thinking, like, on a larger scale, what are the stereotypes that we have against like quieter people, more introverted people, and how can we like shift our mindset to think about what strengths they have and what they actually contribute to society? And so I started researching that, and I ended up doing my senior project in high school on the extrovert ideal. Have you heard of that?
Yes, from Quiet in a World That Won't Stop Talking.
Yeah, that's the book that I based my project on.
My mom read it and was obsessed with it because my youngest sister is introverted and shy, and my mom is not. Let's just put it that way. And she was like kind of, I don't want to say confused, but I feel like she kind of had a hard time connecting with her initially. And so she really liked the book when it came out because it gave her like a framework to understand her better.
Yeah, it's a super good book. Would recommend. But it talks about how in America we have this thing called the extrovert ideal, in the sense that we are taught that there's this superior personality and that you have to be extroverted in order to have that personality, I guess, or to meet that ideal in society. So I definitely think it's real. And I actually pulled out a quote from my paper in high school and was going to read it because I think it explains it pretty well. So I said, the extrovert ideal is the offspring of individualist countries like America, a mindset that tends to foster discrimination against those who identify as introverts, perpetuating the idea that introverts should be pushed to alter their personalities. But is it possible? To what extent can we fine tune our own personalities, and how many of us are really capable of acting out of character? According to Quiet, our ability to control the ways in which we present ourselves is limited. This is partly due to behavioral leakage, characterized by our true selves seeping out via unconscious body language.
Hmm.
However, high self monitors, or people who are highly skilled at modifying their behavior to the social demands of a situation, tend to be good at producing the desired effects and emotion in a given social situation rather than basing their behavior on their own internal compasses.
That sounds like a sociopath.
I think it's just someone who's better at acting, honestly.
Okay.
But
Fine line.
couldn't be me, though, apparently. But
Couldn't be me.
yeah. In other words, they're effective performers who experience less stress while regulating their behavior than low self-monitors or those who are less skilled at taking on a false persona. Low self-monitors are less sensitive to social cues and less interested in putting on a false persona even when they know what the cues are. In Quiet, author Susan Cain mentions the case of Professor Brian Little. Little lectures with passion in an engaging, entertaining, and outgoing manner, and afterwards hides in the restroom to recharge in solitude. A common phenomenon among introverts.
And professors.
Yes. I do that, honestly. He is acting in accordance with the free trait theory, which suggests that we are born and culturally endowed with certain personality traits, but we can and do act out of character in the service of core personal projects. Introverts are capable of acting like extroverts for the sake of work they consider important, people they love, or anything they value highly. This begs the question, should we stay true to ourselves or attempt to manipulate our behavior within the range available to us? What do you think about that question?
Manipulate. I do. I think that you should. I mean, I'm not really. Well, I won't say that. I think I'm pretty good at being manipulative, to be honest. But I think that I don't change my personality much, regardless of who I'm talking to. And I think that there are pros and cons to that. The pro being that you can always find yourself in like, you can always find your small, like niche circle of people that you might be able to interact with. But the con of that is A, you can be very lonely. B, you can behave inappropriately within a particular societal context. Like if I treat my friends the same way that I treat my boss, the same way that I treat my partner, then like that's obviously going to be problematic. And I have had like scenarios in which I'm talking to a boss or a professor and they get offended by me not using like more sensitive language than I would like with a friend. Like they feel like I need to tone it down for a more professional context. But I just feel like I'm being myself. And I don't feel like I want to your point about like they might know what the societal norms are, but they don't want to change. It's just like exhausting to constantly have to change your personality. But so I guess pros and cons to both. But I think in particular situations, like I'm specifically thinking of one professor who just really, our personalities did not mesh at all. And I did not like her and I still don't like her. And she didn't like me. And it kind of became a problem like within the process of the course. And I feel like maybe it would have behooved me to not necessarily yeah, not necessarily behave that way. Although the person that I want to be my like mentor for the rest of my dissertation did respond really well to something that I said that was like very blunt. And that was one of the reasons why I want her to be my mentor because I feel like we have very similar communication styles and like operate very similarly. And so if I hadn't been myself in that context, maybe I wouldn't have known.
Yeah, I mean, I do think you have to alter the way that you act depending on the context that you're in.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, you can't treat your boss the same way that you treat your, like, romantic partner or whatever.
Yeah.
But,
I mean, depends on how you treat your romantic partner, but yeah.
I mean, yeah, I just mean, like, there are certain ways of acting that obviously are, like, you know, professional standards you have to adhere to and whatnot. But, yeah, I think the conclusion in that book is that you can alter your personality to some extent, but you need to try to stay as true to yourself as you can. Otherwise, you'll get super burnt out. Because
Yeah.
it is exhausting to
Yeah.
constantly be like monitoring yourself and like trying to act a certain way so that you fit in, trying to like act a certain way because you think that that's the way you should be acting. Like, you should try to take advantage of your strengths so that you can capitalize on like what you're naturally good at. Introverts in general, I think, are better at like learning things in depth and like thinking before acting. Like, extroverts are better at multitasking, but introverts are better at like, I guess, being less impulsive and like they can focus for longer. So just things like that. And like an introvert or a quieter person might speak less often, but what they have to say can still be really valuable because they've put a lot of thought into it. Like, just because someone talks a lot, just because someone talks really loudly, doesn't mean that what they're actually saying has value. And I think that People have a tendency, especially in America, to think about like style over substance, or to care about style over substance. So you're not really paying attention to what the person is saying. You're just thinking about how they come across and how that makes you feel, like emotionally, like the emotional appeal of it.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually wrote in my essay, like, this was, pretty interesting that I put this in there before Donald Trump was elected. But I was like, here, I think I have the quote actually. I said, "We see the extrovert ideal take shape in current events at the heart of the presidential campaign. Regardless of political views, one candidate in particular, Donald Trump, embodies many of the qualities Americans admire in today's culture of personality. His flashy money, brash remarks, and unapologetic antics excite and entertain the public. To many, his aggressive, optimistic attitude appears bursting with confidence, and the support of these Americans has helped Trump become a front-runner in the campaign. Of course, to others, he appears narcissistic, his policies outrageous, and his temperament neither stable nor thoughtful enough to deserve such a coveted, powerful position. For or against Trump, it is possible that America will make a regrettable mistake in electing him as president simply based on how we perceive the qualities of an effective leader." And I think that's really true, because I think we can just make snap judgments based on how someone comes across if they're saying things that are validating or that, like, on the surface seem good, but we're not really, like, critically thinking about what they're actually saying and, like, how they actually are.
Yeah, I think that happens a lot in professional contexts. Like people that are nice are valued over people that are like genuinely generous or like helpful or just delights. Like people that are just always nice. They're considered more professional. They're considered more, and it's like, I vehemently disagree with that. I think that you can be nice and super pretentious and arrogant and passive aggressive and all these other things, but it's just like the way that you initially present is not particularly like confrontational or even honest. There are some people that are just genuinely nice, but then there are some people that are like putting it on as some sort of facade, I feel.
Yeah, like, people will just, it's amazing to me, like, that people don't realize that some people are just throwing out compliments because they want other people to like them. Like, they don't actually mean it.
Hmm.
Like, a lot of people are like that. They're just very charming and flattering, but it's like, that's style over substance. Hello.
We actually wanted to make a club in undergrad that was like geared towards introverts. And there was a lot of like very superficial networking and stuff that was encouraged at Claremont McKenna College, or at least I felt like it was quite superficial
Yeah.
and like fake niceness and cheerfulness. And we wanted to have something that was more focused on like policies and practices, but then also like social events that were geared towards introverts, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
And I talked about it with a couple of professors and also a dean, and they were like, there's no way that's going to happen because in the like professional workforce, like they're going to have to appear as extroverted anyway. So like we shouldn't have
They
to
actually said
implement
that.
any of those things, essentially. Like I had said that we should allow people to participate in more than one way. And they were like, no, they need to be able to learn how to like raise their hand and like communicate effectively and blah, 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 blah in discussions. And it's like, do you even though?
There are also different ways to communicate effectively.
There are also so many professions where you don't have to raise your hand and like burst
You
into a
actually
discussion.
never have to raise your hand in the real world. Actually.
So,
Excuse me, boss?
and then I also wanted, one time I had an interview where they like gave all the questions beforehand while you were in the waiting room and you were able to like look over them, because I was saying that I feel like interviews are mostly about who has quick recall and they're not about like what you actually would like to answer to the question. And it's like under a pressure cooker. And so I said that we should have like all interview questions for any of the like institutes be able to be accessed like in the waiting room so that people could process them a bit before and like come up with their ideas. And they were just like, no, because in the real
I've actually gotten interview questions ahead of time in the real world. But also, like, that can run the risk of like someone just scripting an answer. And you do, to some extent, want to see like their natural response in the moment.
I feel like you only need it unless it's like for debate or like being a what is it? Like a lawyer that's like in court
A
or
litigator.
like something where you have to like think on your feet in like and need quick recall, then I don't think you need it.
Yeah. I don't think you need it as much as people say you need it.
Like maybe don't give them the interview questions like weeks and weeks before so they can script something. But if they're just in the Zoom waiting room, like
Yeah.
before getting on the thing, then it's just like I feel like that's not that big of a deal. And I actually recommended that to another like institute when I was on the hiring side. And they were like, no, because I actually have an audio processing disorder, which I don't know what that is. And like, I wasn't able to get the interview questions beforehand, so I don't think anyone else should be.
Hmm. Interesting. Well, I don't know. I don't think that everyone should have to be extroverted. I don't think that like people should be able to excuse like rudeness with like, oh, I'm just shy though. Like obviously like everyone wants, you know, to be treated well. So like no, you shouldn't like go through life just like glaring at everyone and like not saying anything obviously. But, like there were ways that I could improve myself when I was younger and it was not super beneficial to me to be so shy and so reserved. But the only way that people are going to be able to like grow is if they feel like others are supporting them, in my opinion. Like I felt like being treated like I was unlikable, being treated like there was something wrong with me, that only lowered my self-esteem and my confidence and made it harder to change. But then feeling like, oh, we like you and we want you to contribute more because we like you, then that helped me like come out of my shell. And I think people forget that.
Do you feel like there are any like changes that you've made to your personality that have been like conscious where you were like, I want to work on this, and then you changed it?
Oh
Or
my
just
God.
any big changes in general, I guess.
I feel like I did make a conscious effort to go to more social events that made me feel uncomfortable. Like I used to feel super uncomfortable at like school dances and I would just stand there like a stick and like not move.
That's funny.
I
Oh, it's funny because you like dancing.
like dancing when I'm drunk. Or like not
Fair, which
not
was not
sober.
the case in high school,
Yeah, I
assuming.
didn't no, I didn't drink in high school or even during the first part of college, but
I didn't drink in high school either.
yeah. So, but like you can also like be sober and not super uncomfortable at a dance. Like I feel like I wouldn't be as uncomfortable now as I used to be.
Hmm.
Like I used to be so uncomfortable and miserable at high school dances. So I feel like I just forced myself to go though anyway. Because I was like, I need to get over this. Like clearly there was some enjoyment to be had at these functions.
Hmm.
Like, I don't know. So I just made myself go to parties and made myself play sports and tried to like force myself to participate in class. Although even putting too much pressure on yourself can be detrimental, I think, because I have a tendency to do that and I'll like beat myself up if I don't participate, or I used to beat myself up if I didn't participate enough. And I don't think that's super helpful either. I think you should like be forgiving, like patient with yourself. Impatience.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, in general, it's like good to be yourself and be confident in who you are and like to be able to recognize your different traits and the pros and cons to them. And I think it's good to like work on bolstering your weaknesses or like changing the things about yourself that you want to change about yourself, especially if you notice a pattern of like getting into situations that you feel like are less than ideal. As a result of it, like how I mentioned, being more guarded or like even being more private is something that I've been trying to do more so because I tend to share a lot. I'm just a very transparent person, which I think there's a distinction between honest and transparent as well. Like someone can be honest if you ask them a question, but they won't mention it unless you ask. And to me, I'm like, okay, that can be kind of sketchy as well. But I think that some of some of that is some like a bit of that I want to take because I feel like I share a lot about things that I'm doing, even in like the tiniest stage. Like, oh, I want to work on this thing about my body, and then people think they have carte blanche to like talk about it, and I'm like, wait, sorry, I didn't ask for your opinion.
Yeah.
But I would talk to my therapist, and she's like, why do they even know that? Like, they don't need to know about your insecurities, for example. like things that you're hoping to change about yourself. If you don't know them, how do you know that they're gonna like respect that and like be able to hold space for you to like grow in your own way or like not make snide remarks about it? So I feel like, yeah, you do have to put yourself in situations or like try to change certain things about your personality that you're noticing have a pattern, especially of like hurting you or putting you in, you know,
Yeah.
potentially dangerous situations as well.
I also think, like, if you're a quiet person and you just don't want to talk more, like, that's fine.
Yeah.
And if you're introverted but not shy, that's fine. But I felt like I am probably more introverted than extroverted, but I think I'm more shy than introverted almost. Like, I feel like a lot of the times when I wasn't speaking, it wasn't because I didn't have anything to say or even that I didn't want to say anything. It was that I just felt uncomfortable or I was scared, and so I didn't say anything. And I felt like in some circumstances that was preventing me from connecting with people, and it was preventing me from having experiences that I wanted to have. And
Hmm.
so I think in those cases, it can be detrimental to just say like, "Oh, well, this is how I am. Can't
Hmm.
it can't get better. It's just how I am. I just feel super uncomfortable in these situations." It's like, well, just keep exposing yourself and like pushing yourself, and it can get better. Like, I have gotten less shy, and I feel like that has helped me, and it's actually been better for my mental health. I feel like I actually learned from you that concept of like not telling people something unless they ask, though.
Really?
Yeah, because I feel like, I don't know, I'm also a pretty transparent person.
Yeah, we both are.
Yeah, and I'll just like tell people things about myself because I'm kind of an open book. Like, I don't seem that way. But if I'm like engaged in a conversation with someone, like there's nothing I have to hide. Like, I'll just say
Yeah.
whatever about myself or my past. And sometimes you don't realize, like, if the other person isn't opening up to the same extent, or if like you're asking them the same questions, but they're not giving very comprehensive answers, like, why should you give them the information they're not giving you?
Yeah. It creates an imbalance within the
Yeah.
relationship,
So it's, yeah.
especially if it happens over time.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, if they really care, they'll ask. So
Yeah.
just wait till they ask.
Yeah. Although sometimes you don't know what to ask until you know what to ask. And then you're like, oh, who knew? Like a time where I was talking to an ex and I didn't know he still had a girlfriend
Oh.
until I asked.
There's some things you should ask.
Yeah. It's like, oh, well, will you look at that? Is there anything that you used to consider a strength, but now you think it's more of a weakness?
Um,
Or anything that you used to really value about yourself that now you feel like is less important?
well, I feel like I used to be more stubborn about like saying, this is how I am. No one's gonna change me. Because I felt like so many people wanted me to change.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm like, I mean, I see the benefits of like being a little different,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
If you want to change the same things yourself.
Yeah.
I was just talking about this actually with one of my friends that it's like tangentially related, but same underlying idea. She was talking about how some people like end up harming themselves by not wanting to identify with stereotypes.
Hmm.
Like African Americans, like in general, there's not that much financial literacy. But instead of like asking for help about how to like navigate finances better, because you don't want to confirm that you, as an African American person, don't know that much about finances, you like won't ask for it. And I feel like it can be kind of the same thing with personality. Like you don't want to change something because someone has mentioned that you should change it, but in reality, it might be worth taking a second look.
Or it's just like, why are introverts and shy people having such a hard time? Like, why are they getting so much flack? This is not fair. I am introverted. I am shy. I'm not gonna change.
Hmm.
But it's like, nah. Like, in some situations, it's kind of more fun to not be that way, you know?
Yeah, you don't want to get into your own way just because you're like doubling down.
Yeah.
Like what I was saying about being a blunt person.
And just because, like, you've grown up shy doesn't mean you always have to be that way.
Yeah.
Or any personality trait. Like, just because, you know, you've grown up a certain way doesn't mean that you can't change if you don't want to some extent. But obviously, like the book said, you can't really change like fundamental aspects of your personality too much, I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I think I said it once to a friend, and then he put it on his like whiteboard that was outside of his room. Actually, you'll also see him on the pod at some point. I said something about how like you don't have to be the same person that you were yesterday. And I like really strongly identify with that. Like I love changing my mind. I love being like, "Oh, I don't identify with that anymore." Yeah, I used to really care about that, but I don't, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like people will be like, "Oh my God, you've changed." And it's like, "Yeah, it's been a year."
People, people, that's another thing. Like, people will try to pigeonhole you. And
Yeah.
I felt like on my soccer team, I was like, well, I've been quiet for so long that, like, every time I spoke and I wasn't quiet, everyone would make a huge deal about it. They'd be like, oh my God, you were pretty talkative today. Or, like, oh, I heard you talk on the field. It's like, can I not be different one day? Like, I'm not going to be exactly the same in every situation, exactly the same every day. Like, I'm like a
A human.
multi-layered, varied, like human being with like, you know, different aspects to my personality. Hello. So, yeah. And I think like people have a problem with personality tests because they're like, oh, well, it just like puts you in a box and it says like this is how you are all the time. But it's like, no, this is just how you are generally, like across different contexts and in different situations. But it's not how you always have to be. Like, obviously, in some contexts, people can act differently than in others.
Yeah, I have there's a quote that I actually might get tattooed at some point that's from our favorite like professor from undergrad, Professor Valenza, who I mentioned before. And it is he was talking about our relationship actually, but I feel like it's basically about how, paraphrasing, like you want to create some sort of like superstructure with boundaries and labels and like schemas because that is what like allows you to develop closeness. It's what, like, for example, if you're trying to become friends with someone, it's ideal case scenario to like have a class with them, to like go to Soul Cycle together, like have repeated interactions. That's how you like build trust. There's like some sort of structure that allows you to create a friendship. But once the friendship is created, you don't necessarily have to have that. You can go like years without seeing each other and still be friends. And so he was saying like we like to put these sort of like schemas and boundaries, and they're important like within the initial stages, which is what I felt for personality tests. Like while I was understanding myself and like developing, like getting into my adult years, personality tests like really helped me describe things about myself to other people and to like understand myself in a certain way, like having the language. But now it's not like I'm going around like I was an undergrad talking about them, because I feel like I've been able to like release that sort of superstructure and just sort of like be myself.
Hmm. Yeah.
And then you're always able to like reinstitute it when necessary. Like I'm able to say that I'm an extrovert if someone's like, why are you trying to be around me all the time? But I don't like, go around like leading with that as an introduction.
Yeah. Like my Myers-Briggs personality type is apparently the most rare. And so I feel like that doesn't mean I'm going around thinking like, "Ugh, I'm so unique
I'm
and
so
different. I
misunderstood.
just like can't connect with anyone. Like no one understands me. Like I just can't make friends." But like if I don't get along with people, I feel like I kind of do think about it and I'm like, well, like maybe I just see things differently than a lot of other people and like that's okay, but that doesn't mean I can't have friends. That doesn't mean there aren't still a lot of people I can connect with. So,
I just thought of this, it's kind of an aside, but I thought about how growing up, one of the things that I was most affirmed for was being smart, like in school. And even when I speak, people were like, oh, you're very like articulate. Not in a, I didn't take it in a mean way. Like I think people were just like, you're a very smart person, an intelligent person. And I feel like that actually stopped me from having a lot of like fears about moving through college and stuff like that. Like we got into a pretty prestigious school and I kind of just assumed I would get into it, and I hadn't even looked at the like percent rate, like how many people got into it or not. And people would be like, wow, that's a great school. I'm like, is it? Who knew? And then same thing when I got into UCLA for grad school. I mean, I knew that was very exclusive, but the program that I got into, but in one of our classes, the teacher had asked, like, who thought they would get into grad school? And a couple of people raised their hand, including me. And then they were like, who thought they would get into a grad school that was as good as UCLA? And, like, I was the only one raising my hand. Like, I've literally never had imposter syndrome when it comes to, like, intellect or education. And part of that has to do with, like, my family. Like, I have a lot of people in my family that have gotten their, like, master's or PhD. And then part of that has to do with like where we grew up. Like I just know so many people that have gone to higher education that it doesn't seem like not feasible. So like nothing against people that do have imposter syndrome, but I also feel like part of it was what people affirmed in terms of my quote unquote personality. Like you're
Hmm.
such an intelligent person.
Yeah. I feel like the way people see you and the feedback you get can really shape your self-perception, which is unfortunate for those of us who do not
Yes.
get such positive feedback. I mean, not that
Hmm.
people didn't think I was smart. Like, people thought I was smart, but I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. Having like a series of negative interactions obviously can like change the way that you fundamentally see yourself.
Yeah. And that's like not your fault, you know?
Yeah. And you can reverse it too.
Yeah.
Like you were saying, you can like grow out of it or you can change something about yourself or you can like learn to accept that part of yourself. I actually think that films and like books can be really helpful with that. My favorite book growing up and like it's still my favorite book was the first time. It's called Wasted by Maria Hornbacher. Would recommend also. And it's about this girl who has anorexia, which I don't have. Like I've never had an eating disorder, but it was like written in the same way that my brain worked. Like the same way that like her brain got stuck on certain things or like she was really ruminative and like couldn't move on from particular phrases that people had said and like they kept repeatedly coming up in intrusive thoughts and like all of these different things. Like were mirrored like how my brain works. And it was really important for me because I like had never met anyone who described their brain as working in a similar way. And honestly, I still haven't met anyone else who does. So it was like really affirming. And then I also used to really worry about not being able to be a good mother because I had such difficult mental health issues. And I saw a documentary when I was in Austin that was about this woman, Polystyrene, who was like a punk um singer in Britain, and she had a daughter and she had like really severe mental health issues, and her daughter was just sort of like reflecting on her experience with her mom. She was talking about how there were a lot of ways that like it negatively impacted her life, but she's still like glad she had her mother, like still glad that she was born and like learned so many things from that experience. And it really like changed the way that I saw my mental health issues at the time and like my ability to, have that role. So
Yeah.
I feel like film and books and stuff can affirm you as well if you don't have people that aren't.
That's true. Like that book, Quiet, I feel like really helped me when I read it.
Hmm.
And just like reading about the benefits of being introverted and more quiet, um, and the ways that like other people in the world feel misunderstood, because it made me feel less alone.
I actually have a tattoo that's related to that, which is a James Baldwin a quote, who's an author, and he paraphrasing again basically talks about how like you think that you're the only person who experiences as much like emotional pain due to human suffering. But then you read and you realize that like so many people have experienced the same level of like connection with humankind and like sadness about the state of the world. And you realize that it's one of the like fundamental things that make you human. And I really liked that quote because I feel like, especially in undergrad, like I used to cry so much about things like police brutality, like homelessness. Like I was really deeply impacted by them, the Holocaust, slavery. And even when I was in graduate school, I was asking my therapist, like, can you help me get rid of this? And she was like, no, like the things that you're crying about are just like crimes against humanity. Like they're actually sad because I would be like in class and I would be crying and nobody else was. And it made me feel like quite odd and like I was somehow
I thought
emotionally dysregulated.
I thought you said you had decreased empathy. I feel like that means you're more empathetic.
I feel like I have decreased empathy in interpersonal interactions, but I feel like my care for humankind is like actually quite empathetic.
Interesting.
But anyway, yeah, I really identified with that quote because I just felt so odd for how much like I cared and still care about humanity. And I do think that like books and reading about activists has helped me with that.
Yeah. I feel like that's probably a good thing. More good than bad, I would say. But it can be hard to be different even if your difference is good.
Yeah. And because people will be like, what?
Yeah.
I literally
Why are you
don't.
so
Why are
weird?
you crying?
Yeah.
But then also sometimes you don't recognize that other people are that different than you. Like I remember having a conversation with one of my friends when I was in undergrad, and she had talked about how she was having a good month. And I was like, good month? Because my mental health was so bad that like I didn't have good months for like years. I would have like a good day, maybe a good week, but good month, I could not conceptualize.
That does seem like a long time
Yeah, she was like, oh, I'm having a good month.
for things to be consistently good.
I mean, low-key, I'd be having good months now, though. Ever since I got on medication, like, I've been thriving for weeks and weeks and weeks. For months and months and months, to be honest.
Well, there
So,
you go.
but, like, I think sometimes you think a lot of people are similar to you in the experience, and then it can be kind of jarring to find out that.
Yeah, that's true. Like you assume everyone sees things the same way.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's actually very different from the way most people see things.
Yeah, like when I learned last year that some people will lie to your face because they're selfish and they don't care. Like, they literally will lie
Yeah.
to you just so they can get something from you. This was not something that I really had clarity on before.
Yeah. I mean, me neither. I just don't really lie very often.
Yeah. So pros and cons to various personality types.
Indeed. Indeed. Anything else you want to discuss today? Okay. Yeah. There's a lot to say about it, but I think we've said enough, you know?
Yeah, at least for now. I mean, we're always prattling on, as you can tell. Okay, lovely. Wait, we didn't see any of you today. I'm glad you were able to see us today. Amanda and I are gonna now go eat together, so wahoo. Okay, until next time, guys, have good experiences. Bye.